Good afternoon, my name is Kirsty Dignam and I'm here to do the weekly video with today's Monday's Musings on the 17th of November 2025. It almost felt like I wanted to say 2026 then. There seems to be this week some very large shifts occurring that will have a I'm hearing catastrophic effect into 2026 for this next year to come. And to recognise that catastrophic, that change itself, whether it's been planned or unplanned, doesn't have to be a negative thing. To really embrace what it is we're being asked to let go of. And this week that can really involve deep core values that we're being asked to transmute. To not necessarily chuck them all away, but look at what it is, the essence of it, that we're trying to take forward by going with our emotions. This week's video is much later than I would have normally planned because life has happened, and that's a real emphasis this week, that life is going to happen regardless of how much control we think we have or don't have. And it's about how well we can navigate that simply, and I say simply, I'm not undermining what people are going through, but purely, shall we say, recognizing the difference between underplaying something and bringing it back into its simplest, purest form, purely by going into our body and feeling what wants to be expressed now for what it actually is. This video, as I mentioned, is later than normal, and it is because life has happened. However, recognizing that everything that is occurring around us is still related, particularly those aspects closer to home, to where we are. How well can we observe them? How well can we learn from the wisdom that we are giving to others and the impact that perhaps needs to be had on a deeper level within us also? There's only so much we can do this week. Recognize that the changes that are afoot are for the whole year coming. Don't run before we can walk. That's what I hear, because what tends to happen when we do that, when we rush, I hear the song Fools Rush In, when we rush into something, particularly from knee-jerk reactions, especially pain this week, when we rush into things, we do not allow time for something different. We do not allow space for a reaction that we hadn't perhaps thought of, or a unique way of seeing things. And from there, change is a lot less likely. Trust the process. Trust yourself within it. Trust that everything, I know we have the word divine timing thrown around a lot, but trust that everything is divinely timed based on your ability to receive it, based on your ability to be present with what is occurring. And that does sound almost, it's not egoic and it's not judgmental. There's another type of energy trying to come through, and it's not sovereign actually, it's the very shadow aspect of sovereign, or it can bring up the shadow aspect of our own sovereignty. And yes, of course, this is what a lot of people forget. The spirit has an ego. Okay, everything has an ego, everything has a light or darker side as well. I'm recognizing that this week. Are we truly honoring what's in our heart? Are we being open and receptive? Or are we being entitled? Are we being supportive of change? Or are we navigating things on our terms, just from a different perspective, a different angle? With the Scorpio new moon, I don't want to make it all about the Scorpio new moon. There is going to be a blog out in the next few days around that. But with the Scorpio new moon, there is an emphasis of going deep beneath the surface of what's actually going on, and taking responsibility for that. Recognizing that, bringing that part of us home. There's been, for myself, many scenarios, both within my own life and those around me, where I can clearly see retraumatization of situations. There's a collective wound around healing, that it has to be around suffering actually, that it's almost a badge of honor to wear, that it's almost a representation of our worth. The amount that we can allow ourselves to feel is somehow equal to our power and where we stand in things. And there's confusion there. There's a lot of outdated narratives coming to the surface. The question is, and has always been, does it work for you? Is it yours to carry forward? Does it sing to your heart? Does it bring you alive? Or does it support a story and way of being that is keeping you smaller or responsive to your environment rather than connected to your own? Does mean that comes with some home truths this week. So compassion is key. Looking at how open we are to receiving that as well. I'm currently doing a compassionate resilience course, and there is a fine line between strength and suffering, which we all know. This is nothing new. That's the beauty. This is nothing new. And if it feels very samey, the invitation is to go a little bit further. Go beyond the mental understanding and even the emotional awareness to the deeper soul wisdom that is available there. Or not, right? As always, it's free will. It is up to the individual, and the more we go into next year, the more we're going to be aware of that. We are going to see, for some, big shifts and changes. And there is the invitation there to recognize that many of them have come from people, I don't want to say doing the work. I have a real big resistance to that. I may be feeling into that this week as well, feeling into any resistance to it being work. Because let's face it, it's fucking hard sometimes. It's strengthening and enduring, and it does build great stamina and character. It is work. It isn't all play out there, and that feels quite important to acknowledge the changes that are occurring, how difficult they can be, and from there have compassion. Let's call it what it is. Sometimes it's hard. Why are we afraid of that? Why are we afraid of doing the work? Why are we afraid of how difficult it can be? Why can we not call it for what it is? Sometimes it is a struggle. The more open we can be to that reality, the more likely we are then to be softer and gentler on ourselves, and ironically allow in a bit more light and a bit more fun. I'm now seeing the symbolism of the seed that cracks open. And that really is where we are this week. So don't get too distracted. Don't get too involved in trying to make sense of the energies. Like I say, there is a new moon blog coming out for Scorpio. It is about going deeper. But going deeper doesn't always mean into other people's business and into the external. It's a chance to go within rather than to go without as a result of not going within. And next year that's going to be a big emphasis. The more we can go in to our own process and really, really learn from it, learn from ourselves, the more that external result is going to be evident. And that does mean, apparently, more people standing up, more people being representations of the outcome of what can happen if we quote unquote do the work, of what can happen if we, learn from our own wisdom, of what can happen if we stop using our gifts to re-traumatize ourselves or re-punish ourselves. And that collectively at the moment does seem to be a big emphasis or a big theme. Now there isn't judgment there, but there is an opportunity to be aware of it and respect it, and should you so wish, change it. It is core value stuff though. So we are talking deep-seated ways of being that have kept us safe, that have helped us belong to a family, that we're loyal to as well. And it's not about getting rid of them, but finding your own twist on them, bringing them forward in a way that only you can, for yourself and for your ancestors. A lot of the women in my family are incredibly resilient, and that's gone back many, many, many generations, and it's been born from hardship and struggles and endurances. And there is a loyalty there, a pride there in my heart of knowing that that blood runs through me too. But that doesn't mean I need to continue going through the struggles in order to belong to that lineage. Really focusing this week on some of the things that have been inherited through your own ancestry, some of the things that you appreciate about your own ancestry, and whether or not you're honoring that or the way that it has been developed. Okay, so don't get too distracted. Feel into the energy by all means. Go deeper by all means. But yes, thank you. There always needs to be a completion. As we go into next year, the year of 10, the medicine wheel, there always needs to be a completion. But first, that means we acknowledge at the stage that we're in. Taking time this week to be with your process, and then taking it that little bit step further in order to complete it. Now, completing doesn't mean ending, and this is something we really need to get our heads around as a species. Completion isn't endings, it's just a cycle that is completed. Another will be born from that, just like the seed doesn't stay the seed, it turns into a plant and then comes full circle into a seed again for the future generation of that plant. It's not about tying up loose ends and being done with. It's about just finishing that perspective, that awareness, those lessons from that, and opening ourselves up to a deeper resonance within them, a deeper understanding of them, and a deeper understanding and appreciation of ourselves and evolution. Thank you. Yes, and evolution. So many have already known with things like the Moon Eye Key or the Luminous Warrior or the Rainbow Prophecy that there is a way of our bodies that are being evolved to allow in more light. Call it crystalline bodies, whatever it is you want to call it. It just means that we are allowing in more light, and to do so we are shifting the denser energies within us, be that thoughts, emotions, traumas in particular, what we would call hucha or negative energy. Now that is what is occurring for these times to come. Our bodies are being upgraded. It can feel like we're being ungraded. It can feel like everything we once knew about who we are is changing. Allowing this process to occur, go back to your basic needs always. No matter what is going on the spiritual front or the energetic front, you are a physical human being. You have awareness in all areas of this, the physical area, the mental area, the intuitive area, the spiritual area, but ultimately it is our physicality that we are living. So go back to your basic needs. Look after your body. I cannot stress this enough. That is what's going to be the very center cross of the medicine wheel next year, the physical body. You may find, for argument's sake, myself, I have GP appointments, smear appointments, dental appointments all coming in the next month. There's a real opportunity here for an MOT of our well-being. The stronger you are physically, the more easier you're going to transition through these changes. The stronger you are physically, the more easier you are going to be able to bring about change. What you do with that is up to you, but the opportunities are going to come in thick and fast over the next few months. If you want to make the most of them, make the most of yourself. Okay, so on that note, let's look into the energies this week and how to best navigate them. I'm going to use again the Sacred She Tarot. The reason being is I want to get more and more used to them. I want to get more and more used to the energy of the Sacred She, but also I'm just hearing that I must travel with them. There's an emphasis there, isn't there? If we really want to become more accustomed with the wisdom that is available, we must walk it. We must walk the talk. We must really connect on a deeper level. Why? Yes, we understand it more. Yes, we embody it more. But here's a little heads up. We add to it as well. So often anything particularly spiritually is seen as external, be that our guides or healing or wisdom that is coming through. And it's almost like we are just continually on the receiving end of it. We are really valid, important parts of a team. Okay, so acknowledging that your experiences are to be learnt from, to be shared, to be taught, to be connected and created and weaved in this grand scheme of things. Also, things like the tarot and all that, they're just a reflection of where we are, and they just help us integrate. If completion was ever given another word, rather than it being endings, I would advocate it be integration, because until we can do that, nothing changes. Completion is an opportunity to integrate. So yes, I'm going to use the Sacred She Tarot because I want to really integrate that energy into my own. And that's where I see integration merely as a remembering. Whatever you're integrating this week, whatever you find yourself receiving and downloading and uploading and working with, is an opportunity to remember, a deeper remembering. Okay. Remembering what? That's what I hear. Remembering what? And we may find that. We may think, oh, I don't know what's going on. What am I trying to gain from this? What clarity do I actually need? It's going to be different for everybody, but there's a high chance it's going to be remembering you within every single situation that you've been in. Remembering the essence of you. Underneath we have the two of, I have to think here. The Two of Wands. Thank you. The Two of Wands. Focus. So when we have that moment when we're not quite sure, pausing, what am I trying to gain clarity of? Well, this is a spiritual card. It's a fire card. What element am I working with here? Focus on that. Am I acting from my emotions? Am I acting from my mind? Am I acting from my own spirituality? Am I acting from my body's reaction? Really focusing on that. Take time. Pause. Integrate everything that's going on and then respond. Allow your vision to be the focus. So often we can get really caught up in what's going on externally, and that's not downplaying that. Of course, we're part of the collective, but we can get so caught up on that we don't want to look within. This week is an opportunity to really advocate your own authentic alignment, to really come back to a integrated space of completion from within. Okay, so I'm going to keep that card at the bottom because it does feel important not to get caught up in the distractions around us, to be aware of the energy but keep coming back. What is my goal here? So this morning, yes, it's been busy, life has been busy, but my core value was that I also have work to do. Now, whether that's this video or whether that's our job or whether that's the sacred work, recognizing they're all part and parcel. What we're doing is part of the sacred work, and allow that to be our focus. So when we find ourselves caught up in energy or experiencing what is going on externally, what am I being asked to bring to this? What is my role in this? Am I being asked to witness, to watch space, to give advice? Where am I doing that from? Is that because it's part of a more complete version of myself, or am I reacting here? Keep coming back to the focus of your intention, particularly when it comes to visions and dreams. I'm noticing there's a lot of dreaming, and there's a lot of dreaming with ancestors. There's a lot of dreaming with the collective. On my part, I don't know about you guys, but also this morning, my husband and I both dreamt of the same people and the same situations. Now that's uncanny. That's on another level. These dreams are really this more psychic energy, which I said about 6 months ago, is really, really, really increased. And it's tantalizing. It's tempting. There's so much curiosity there, and there's nothing right or wrong with that, but remain focused. What is your intention? Okay, so Monday, Tuesday, it feels like there is two cards there. Trust what you feel on the Tuesday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I've really got excitement for the last half of the week. Saturday, wow. Okay. Sunday, there's two cards too. Okay. Yeah. Let's move that to one side. I'm moving a crystal that I have, Chiron, to one side. Let me just show you. So Chiron is an incredible crystal, and I called him Chiron. One, he reminds me of a dragon, but also because of the wounded healer. And I'm moving him to one side. I'm showing you first, of course, and then I'm moving him to one side, being very aware of our wounds, but then moving them to one side this week is going to be key. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, particularly on the Sunday. Overall, okay. So we have the focus. That is the intention this week. The guiding archetype, if you will, is focus. But also recognizing the guiding archetype that is actually behind our focus. Now I need to be mindful of how I say this. Are we acting from a victim mentality? Are we acting from an empowering perspective? Are we acting from drive? Are we reacting from threat or from soothing? What part of our brain has become the archetype, the ruler, shall we say, the governing force? Is it ours? How do we feel about it? Is this something we want to take forward? Does it need adapting? Does it need to be our focus? How is it focusing our path in front of us? It's a tweak. It's a slight tweak that is needed this week to first and foremost recognize what is the governing force. Secondly, dig deeper underneath to the treasure that is there rather than the wound in some cases. And if we want to, allowing an amalgamation, an integration of both to create something different to move us on. So on the Monday, we have the Ace of Pentacles. We have roots. It may not feel like it. It may not feel like it this week, but we do have roots. And those roots are ancestral, but they're also from the earth. One of the things I've been made very, very aware of for quite a while, actually, for a few years now, is the collective mother wound. However, being made aware of my own, not just with my mother, but the mother within me, the last few weeks has been profound. And then recognizing that I'm here not only to heal mine, but to help others do the same by returning them to the vision that they have with the world itself and the connection there. So that's given me a deeper level, a deeper foundation of roots, not only in who I am, the vision I have, but what my intention is for the world while I'm here. On the Monday, that's the opportunity. It may feel as if it's a new idea or a new beginning, but the truth of the matter is it's always been embedded in everything that you are. So sensing into that and acknowledging, here you can see that the tree's growing from her mind, okay, allowing our thoughts to expand, allowing our thoughts, particularly those that we may want to understand or suppress or get rid of, just digging a bit deeper. You know, yes, we have this new moon in Scorpio, but there's so much else going on with so many other planets in retrograde, and lots going on with Uranus, but in particular Mercury as well. So really, where are our thoughts affecting our vision? How is that affecting our growth? Is that a strong foundation to build upon? Or are things just slowly but surely being opened within us? What can we do to look after ourselves during that transition, that expansion, that stretching? Here I can see that the tree is very wonky. It does feel as if it's an ancestral wonky tree, but using that also as an opportunity to travel within, using some of the core values we've inherited as an opportunity to look at whether or not they sustain us, whether or not they support us, whether or not they nurture us, and how they may need adapting, and recognizing that will have an effect not only on ourselves but those before us as well, and those to come. It will change how we see. I really feel that emotionally. On the Monday, it will change how we see ourselves in regards to our ancestors, but also it will change how we see them, and it will change how we see the future based on that. On the Tuesday, yes, we have two cards, and this was where I wasn't quite sure whether we had two cards or not. So trusting what we feel on the Tuesday, because we have the Nine of Wands, which is resistance, and it's upright, and there's this brick wall. It's like hitting our head against a brick wall, okay, trying really hard, but almost feeling as if we've become part of the environment, or feeling as if we have to become part of the environment. Does that still work? Does it matter if we belong to a situation that we've outgrown? Where are we being rigid here? Where has our path led to, or perhaps not solid enough in our own beliefs, but where has our path led to merging into the experiences and losing ourselves? Have we become what made us? Have we lost sight of who we always were within it? Well, the card next to it upside down actually is self-confidence. Now, it's almost like this confidence has to be upside down in order for her to dive and get the key, or it's almost like we can feel that way. When we turn the card upright, it's the Eight of Wands, if we can let go of the resistance, underneath it all, we may just find the confidence that we've needed and perhaps been avoiding on the Tuesday, simply, purely by trusting what we feel. It does feel as if it's a bit of a rites of passage on the Tuesday, actually. So on the Monday, we get to see things differently, and that's a bit of a physical new beginning. But on the Tuesday, it does feel as if it's almost like a rites of passage where everything we thought we were is about to be stripped from us. Are we willing to let that go? Are we willing to be more flexible? Or have we become a hardened version of our own potential? Things to think about on the Tuesday. Ultimately, trusting what we feel is going to be the key that we're going to keep striving for, or trusting how we want to feel. Sometimes that can be, we can want things over. For example, in labour, I just want this over and I want to be with what it is I've created, and trusting how that will feel, really focusing on that, going back to that focus. Where is our energy aimed towards? What is the focus behind our reactions? What is the focus behind what we feel? Trusting how we want to feel to be the key forward. On the Wednesday, we then have the Wheel of Fortune. We have change. Here she's holding almost like a crystal ball. And there is an emphasis here of knowing that we've always seen where this was going, that it's always been a potential, that it is in our hands. So the Ace of Pentacles in this deck in particular is coming from the mind, but here change reminds me of the Ace of Pentacles in another deck. So allowing financial change to come in on the Wednesday, allowing physical change to come in on the Wednesday, purely by recognizing what's in our hands, purely by recognizing what we are capable of. There is a high chance we would have already seen this coming on the Wednesday. That doesn't mean that we can plan for our reaction. That doesn't mean that we have all of the answers. That just means that how we choose to respond to something can be the change that we have been waiting for or have seen. Yeah, thank you. Recognizing on the Wednesday that we had to acknowledge our part in it all also. On the Thursday, we then have Libra. We then have Justice. I was going to say Temperance because it reminded me of Temperance. And it can be almost that witnessing and observing type energy on Thursday. There's a feeling of wanting to rush through it. Things are really shifted on the Wednesday, and there's a feeling of not wanting to get it over and done with, but rush through it. There's an excitement there. Yes, thank you. Remember what I felt in the beginning. So that feels quite important. What did we feel in the beginning of these ideas that we had, of these notions, of these connections, in their earliest stages of these dreams? Yes, of these dreams. What did we have in the beginning? There's a feeling of excitement here. Go back to that. Let that restore balance, particularly if you find yourself in a more darker aspect of your vision or trying to make things happen that don't seem to be shifting. Go back to the original excitement, that original spark. Alternatively, if you find yourself unable to manifest things from a physical perspective, okay, bring it into the body. How ready do you feel for that? What needs to shift in you? What needs to change in you? How can you restore balance? Because this is always an opportunity to evolve the body. When we experience change, it evolves the body. It puts stress on the body, and not all stress is a negative thing, but it puts stress on the body and allows those changes on a deep cellular core actually to occur. So what do you need to help yourself during that transition? Well, this card portrays a feather, keeping it light, keeping your path as light as a feather, acknowledging there are night and day to all scenarios. There is good and bad to all things. There is the yin yang, masculine, feminine, all of that around us, but within us there is a need to balance these aspects. The chakras are highlighted here as well, so really ensuring, like one of the things I saw for the new moon this week, actually on the Thursday for the new moon this week, is an opportunity for a spiritual detox, to really look at ways that we have seen the world, beliefs that we have had, core values. When I say spiritual detox, I don't mean When I talk about spiritual health, I don't mean how well you can sit cross-legged and meditate. I have nothing against that, but for me, that's not the perspective that I'm trying to get across. What I mean is how in tune you feel with yourself. Doesn't matter if it's quote unquote good emotions or bad emotions, how authentically aligned are you within that? The body knows the score. Great book, but the body knows the score. So you can talk a good talk, but if inside you don't feel what you are communicating, there's going to be a misalignment there, and that's going to cause some spiritual or energetic junk to build up in your system. This is where we're going to be looking at where we may be re-traumatizing something by creating the same thing just from a different angle. Be honest with yourself on the Thursday. Is this any different? Are you creating the same thing? What are you creating? What is the focus underneath that? We do have the rainbow body here. We do have the bridge here. We do have the evolution, the crystalline body, the rainbow tribe, the prophecy. This is where we go back to that energy of it's always been written. This was going to happen. Particularly on the Thursday, this was going to happen. So acknowledging that for the allowing our insights to be the bridge towards our potential this week, but also allowing our body to step in and create what it's always known it was capable of creating. For it's that that's going to restore balance between this world and the next. That's what I hear. On the Friday, we have the Wisdom Keeper. This is the most stunning card, and it's almost like here on the Thursday, that tip at the bottom, that tip of the iceberg that we feel like we're balancing on, that knife's edge that it feels like we're balancing on, is actually the very top of the mountain from this card, the Wisdom Keeper. So on the Thursday, acknowledging, even though it may feel as if it's a balancing act, it may feel as if it's just the tip of the iceberg, what it actually is the very pivotal point. Yeah, I did say that right each time, didn't I? Interesting, and yet I questioned what I communicated. The ultimate point of all the things that we have learned. Okay, trusting that, trusting ourselves as the wisdom keepers, trusting ourselves to define what wisdom we want to keep, what wisdom we want to share, what world we want to create as a result, and to really step up with that on the Friday. It's beautiful energy. Don't be surprised for those that are that way inclined to receive more spiritual insight, more peace, and a deeper connection to your own intuitive, indigenous, innate soul. From there, on the Saturday, we have a wake-up call. It's called Waking Up. It is the Hanged Man, and it's deep transformation on the Saturday. And again, I want to draw your attention to the fact that on the Thursday, we have the point of the mountain that we're balancing on from the Friday, and on the Thursday we also have the rainbow that is available on the Sunday. So whatever happens on the on the Wednesday, yeah, let's go back to the Wednesday. Whatever happens on the Wednesday, that change is going to bring forth a need to balance and to recalibrate ourselves on a cellular level and lead us into reclaiming the wisdom that we've always known. And that does mean on the Saturday, waking up, taking a good long hard look at the situation in front of us and ourselves within it, and taking responsibility for any transformations that have occurred or that need to occur. On the Sunday, that's where we have the Devil card and Overload. I can't remember what I saw on the Sunday while I was dishing out the cards, but I knew that there was two of them. I knew that it would be about focus. And underneath it, these cards, yeah, I knew that they went together. And we have repression in the Devil card and the Ten of Wands in Overload. These energies go together. When you feel as if you're overwhelmed, where are you holding yourself back? Particularly with repetitive scenarios or ways of being. If it feels like it's too much, it's going back to that Tuesday energy. There's a lot of backwards and forwards this week. I'm not going to lie, guys. This week is a cataclysmic game changer. Okay, it really does feel quite intense this week. It will have a ripple tsunami effect into the next few weeks. Come Sagittarius season, I think things should start to be a lot more defined and aligned and easier to navigate. Doesn't mean they will slow down. And this is where it's important to feel into anything that's causing overwhelm. Anything that feels like it's too much is a conditioning of how we believe we should react. It is a repression of taking on too much. Going deeper into that, it's recognizing there are a lot of things that are being repeated unnecessarily, born from a lack of self-confidence of moving through this rites of passage, because that's what it is. It's a rites of passage, a lack of self-confidence, of trusting our body, trusting our emotions, and there's resistance there that is building a wall. Now this wall on Tuesday, come Sunday, becomes the very thing that keeps us repressed. You see the similarities there of the Devil card, but also that leads to the overload. These cards are so similar. Look at what it is, what part we are holding on to that is repressing us and the collective. And yes, I will say it, that is repressing us and the collective. Carrying that forward isn't necessary anymore, but we must have the self-confidence to recognize that our emotions, our spirit, that fire, that intention, that focus, that creative force is what is going to break the mold, to break the walls that we've built up, to break the overload of holding on to things that no longer sustain us or the collective. What's underneath it all? The 9 of Pentacles. Satisfaction. The ability to allow our inner wild to show us what we want, to chase after that with the, with the rose, with the love, with the passion, with the drive of our true sovereign self, not the shadow aspects of it that have come from our belief of suffering making us somehow worthy of something, that have come from our taking on everything and, I can do this, I can do that, look at me, aren't I wonderful and a saint. That's not satisfaction either, that's not passion either, but to really connect to the receptive feminine underneath it all that decides now what wisdom will be taken forward, simply, purely by restoring a necessary balance that's going to bring forward the change, rebuild our self-confidence, help us release the resistance that many actually have towards things that have been inherited, and this belief that we have to continue carrying them forward to somehow be loyal to those before us. Okay, so we have 5 major arcanas. The changing point is going to come with fates outside of us, no matter how we try and navigate it this week. One of the things I wrote in my journal over the last few days was that the earth didn't want us to focus purely on our suffering either, and that feels quite relevant. There's been a lot of shifts and changes around us and we haven't collectively integrated them, and as a result many are recreating the same scenario, whether we know it or not. And that's the thing, isn't it, with the Scorpio new moon? It's about going deeper and really understanding what we're creating and where from. The world is going to show us this week. The changing point comes from the fates this week, and it is an opportunity to balance the wisdom we are choosing to learn from, the wisdom we are choosing to share. It is an opportunity to wake the fuck up to where we have been holding back our own light, where we have been addicted to stories that are continuing to do that, whether that's substances, whether that's people, whether that's scenarios or narratives, and to really take responsibility for that and become that change. We then have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we have 4 wand cards. So the balance and the restriction comes from our spirituality and our drive and our ambition and our passion. Again, going back to what's the underlying focus here. In this card, her eyes are that of an owl. What's the intention? What's the wisdom? What's the learning? What's the beauty and the power and the vision that you want to take forward this week? Do you have the confidence to align to that? Not resistance, not strength or resilience, but confidence to align to that. Where can you let go of things that are stopping you from simply stepping into who you've always been? Where can you embrace the emotions that say no and acknowledge what you're saying yes to? Where can you restore balance of your own focus, of yourself, first and foremost, and then the situation that is being created around you? We then have 2 pentacle cards. We have no sword cards this week and no cup cards this week. So recognizing that our thoughts and emotions may feel a bit dry. They may feel a bit lacking. We may not have clarity. We may feel emotionally redundant. That's the word I'm hearing. We may feel emotionally redundant, and that may come through in overwhelm. We just don't know what else to do, and we are exhausted, and we quit, and we give up, or we give in, and we allow our body to show us perhaps what we may not have wanted to see, because we have 2 pentacle cards here. I hear the song Satisfaction by Mick Jagger. Can we allow the recognition of what no longer does it for us to be the roots and grounding to work towards what could? See you next week. Take care.